Tonight, we drift into a different way of seeing, not through labels or sharp boundaries, but through quiet predictions and the slow unfolding of possibility. Imagine you are sitting beside a still pond at night. The moonlight kisses the surface. A single ripple forms, and before you know where it will travel, you can feel its future paths. Prediction, even without words, even without labels. Just movement, just intuition. Tonight, we'll explore a new idea, a way machines are learning to understand the world without being told what they are seeing. This is the story of V-JEPA, Video Joint Embedding Predictive Architecture. Big words for a simple, soft truth. Learning by imagining. Settle in. Let your mind open and sleep on this. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a forest. The trees loom ahead. Mist curls between the trunks. You can't see the whole path forward. You can only guess. You sense the curve of the ground, the density of the trees, maybe the scent of damp earth. You make a prediction. If I step forward, there will be a clearing. Or maybe the ground will rise. You're not labeling everything. You're not saying, this is oak, this is pine. You're feeling the flow, anticipating the unseen. This is the spirit of V-JEPA. In traditional machine learning, models are trained with labels. They are told, this is a cat. This is a bicycle. This is a smile. They memorize, they associate, they match input to known answers. But the real world is rarely so neatly labeled, especially in motion. In videos, in life, everything flows. Imagine sitting beside a bustling street. You see people moving, cars threading between lights, leaves tumbling in a breeze. You don't label each piece. You feel the rhythms. You predict without thinking. The cyclist will veer left. The wind will carry the leaves toward the curb. This intuitive flow is closer to how the world truly is. V-JEPA steps into that flow. It doesn't ask, what is this frame? It asks, given what I've seen so far, what should come next? Imagine watching a bird take flight. Its wings beat. It arcs upward. If the video paused, you could guess. The next frame will show it a little higher. The wings will curve differently. You're predicting, not because you memorized frames of birds, but because you understand motion, force, balance. V-JEPA tries to do the same. It sees part of a video. It masks some pieces away. And instead of trying to paint pixel by pixel, it imagines in the space of representations, abstract patterns it has learned over time. These representations are not raw images. They are ideas about what is happening: motion, texture, force, rhythm. Imagine now lying on your back, watching clouds drift. A bulge forms. A tendril stretches outward. You know, without needing a label, that the cloud will stretch further, then break. This sense of motion, of shifting possibilities, is what V-JEPA is beginning to feel. V-JEPA predicts not with color but with feeling. with the shape of change. It's like guessing the next note in a song, not by memorizing music, but by sensing the melody's pull. Imagine sitting by a river. You toss a leaf onto the surface. You don't know exactly where it will go, but you can feel its path, pulled gently by currents, dipping and circling, riding unseen forces. This is closer to how real thinking feels. Not a strict path, not a rigid label, but a fluid unfolding. V-JEPA lives inside that unfolding. It predicts not as a rule book, but as a living, breathing expectation. When machines learn this way, they begin to notice possibilities, not just certainties. They prepare themselves for many futures, not just one. In a world that shifts and surprises, this way of learning becomes a kind of quiet strength. Why is it powerful to predict softly, without demanding exactness? Because in the real world, even small errors open paths to discovery. A bird may flap differently, a river may split, a cloud may vanish faster than expected. When machines learn gently, they learn to adapt, to respond, to imagine not just what is, but what could be. This quality of flexibility, of graceful error, is close to what we call wisdom. V-JEPA leans toward that wisdom, toward learning that is not brittle, but alive. Why not train directly for action? Because action without deep understanding is shallow, it's frantic, it crumbles under change. But action built atop layers of quiet seeing, of quiet predicting, becomes supple, responsive, true. Imagine the way roots grow underground. Long before you see the tree, its network of roots maps the soil, finding water, anchoring into hidden strength. V-JEPA learns like those roots, mapping before reaching. Imagine now a river winding through a canyon. You stand high above, seeing only parts of it. You can't see every bend, but you can feel the way water would move, pressed by the rocks, tugged by the land. You imagine erosion over time, carving deeper paths. You predict slow changes, just as easily as fast ones. V-JEPA is learning to guess the river of reality in the same way. How does it do this? First, it builds an encoder, a system that looks at video frames and translates them into patterns, high-dimensional fingerprints of the scene. Then, it masks parts away. It covers up pieces of the timeline, and it challenges itself. Based on what I've seen, can I predict what the missing pieces look like? Not in pixels, but in meaning. Importantly, it does not try to guess every tiny pixel. It aims for essence, for plausibility. It knows that, in reality, many futures are possible. A bird could soar higher or bank left. What matters is not precise replication, but coherent imagination. V-JEPA trains itself not to memorize the past, but to flow into the future. This approach has many echoes in how living beings learn. A child learning to walk, falls, guesses, adjusts. Not because someone labeled each motion, but because prediction itself shapes understanding. A deer, sensing danger in the forest, moves before it sees the threat, not from labels, but from the flow of motion, the feel of the world shifting. Prediction is not just about knowing, it's about surviving. Understanding is often an act of imagining what could come next. V-JEPA also stands apart because it separates representation learning from action. First, it learns to model the world quietly. Only afterward is that knowledge used for downstream tasks like classification or decision-making. It first builds an inner landscape of understanding. Only then does it act. This separation, learning first, acting later, mirrors how we grow. A baby watches the world long before it speaks. It listens not for commands, but to sense rhythms, patterns, the logic of motion. Only after much quiet learning does purposeful action emerge. Imagine lying in a field, eyes half closed, watching clouds drift. You see one swell upward, then stretch, then fragment. You don't label each moment. You don't say, "That's cloud type 47." You simply understand its movement, its changing shape, its flow. This is the mode of learning V-JEPA pursues. In a world filled with noise, labels, and sharp edges, it offers a different path. A path of quiet observation. A path of imagining futures, not just recording pasts. And so tonight, as you drift towards sleep, let your mind soften into this way of seeing. Prediction not as certainty, but as unfolding. Learning not as memorization, but as breathing. Not everything must be named. Not everything must be known by labels. Sometimes to know is to feel, to imagine, to flow. Let the world drift past your closed eyes. Let your mind wander ahead, guessing gently, dreaming softly. Maybe in some deep sense, we are all V-JEPAs, drifting through life, learning not by naming, but by flowing, by dreaming futures before they are real. As V-JEPA dreams in abstraction, so too can you. Good night, sleep well, and sleep on this.